Happy Wednesday. We are right here at the top of the hour going live. I just want to make sure we are in all the places and live so everyone can hear and see us. Say hi as you tune in and let me know where you're tuning in from. Are you in the coaches community? Are you viewing on one of our Facebook profiles? Are you joining us here on LinkedIn? Let us know where you're coming in from. I'm just going to go ahead real quick and make sure we are live in all the right places. Okay, we're looking good. Say hi as you join. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Really excited to just be back here with you, with all of you here for another weekly live show. And today I'm really, really excited about what I'm about to share with you guys. I think you're going to find it super valuable and really helpful. Let me make sure my chats are up in all the places too, so I can say hi to everybody. Okay, perfect. We're using Restream, guys, so you might have to just say hi in the chat so I make sure that I can see you. And let me go ahead and just get us live here in the group as well. Happy Wednesday. I hope you guys are doing really well. Let's go ahead and dive in. So today what I want to do, I want to talk to you guys because obviously as a sales coach, one of the things that people come to me the most with is they believe that they have a sales problem or a sales gap, or that the thing that they need is that they need to increase their sales, right? They need to make more money. This could very well be true. And my focus and goal today is to help you identify, is your problem a sales problem or is it something else? And I don't think a lot of people come to me with that, right? Because I'm a sales coach. So people typically come to me and they think, hey, my problem is sales. Rather it be, I need to increase my sales or I need more sales. And that's just what they think the problem is. I have actually been working. Hi, Jennifer. Hi, everybody. I've actually been working with a lot of 7 and 8 figure companies, coaches, as well as 6-figure. And something I'm seeing across the board is a lot of people don't actually have a sales problem. That's not actually the problem. It is for some, but it has not been for all. And this has been extremely interesting as a sales coach for me to identify for people. And I think it's important to understand something, guys. Like when you think about sales, generating sales, getting new clients, making more money, most people think to make more sales, I just need to have an offer and put it in front of people. But that's just like one sales strategy. That is not everything. Like putting an offer in front of people is not sales in a whole. There's also other things that generate sales, like client success, client retention, having proper systems in place, proper strategies in place, making sure your profit margins look good. There's actually a lot of other things that equal sales inside of a company. And almost nobody ever comes to me with those problems. They always just come to me and they're like, I need to make more money. And so I want to kind of shed some light on some things today that I think are absolutely under talked about and undervalued, and in most cases not even looked at or considered or even like a thought. And Nicole said yes to just put offer out there, right? She says, yes, to just put an offer out has definitely not worked for me. Yeah, Nicole, and the thing with this is because that's not the only way to make money, and that's not the only thing that equals sales. I'm really excited to talk about this today because I think that this is going to be super helpful to you guys, and I think you're going to get a lot of value from this. And I'm going to bring this perspective to you guys. There's 5 things specifically that are related, directly related to your sales. They are directly related. I'm going to bring those to you, and I'm going to share these from the perspective of multiple 7 and even 8-figure companies that I have worked for and with the last 3.5 years. So they've hired me. I'm going to walk you through this, okay? But I'm going to bring it down to show you how it so much relates to you, even if you're only doing 6 figures in your business or you're just under 6 figures. This still relates to you. And this is going to be a conversation we just don't have enough people talking about. So I'm excited to bring it to you. So the first thing, here's what I want to share. I'm going to share 5 things with you that correlate directly to your sales. 100%. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share what I found. So here's what I found. There's 5 things that I found when working behind the scenes for 2 millionaire coaches in one 8-figure coaching company. So I was hired over these last 3 to 5 years. If you know me, if you're new to me, hello, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here. If you're new to me, you probably wouldn't know this, but if you've been following me, if you've been listening to the podcast, if you've been following me for a little while, there's something about me that you know. You know that I'm an opportunist. I love opportunity to grow, learn, bridge gaps in the industry, learn how to do better, be better, and make a lot of money. So for me, if a company comes to me and says, hey, Ann, can you help us increase our sales? If they're making $1 million or 8 figures and they've been doing that for 2 to 3 years, I will gladly take the opportunity to come into their company and show them how to increase their profit margins, maximize their sales, decrease the tension and effort and all of that. So for me, okay, personally, I have about 6 multiple 7-figure and 2 8-figure companies, coaching companies that have come to me in the last 5 years and said, Ann, we want to hire you on a project, or we want to hire you to come in and help us fix our sales. I'm going to share the different ways I worked with these companies, but I want to share and focus today on what I found. It's going to blow your mind. It's so crazy. And so for the last few years, working with 2, I'm thinking about 2 of the multiple 7-figure coaching companies and 1 of the 8-figure coaching companies. And I'm thinking about, they originally hired me to come in and increase sales. Ultimately, their end goal was they want to increase sales. But I'm really excited to share with you what I found in working with in those companies. And I'm going to bring this back to how this relates so much to your business. Okay. So stay with me. I promise this is going to blow your mind. It's going to be extremely helpful. Okay. So in the back end of these multiple 7 and 8-figure companies that I was hired to come in and increase their sales. For a couple of the companies I was hired. So one of the companies I was hired to train their sellers. So train their social sellers and increase their performance, while also looking at the client success and how can we help clients have better success so that we can retain clients and make more money. In the other company I was hired, to focus primarily on training the sales team, focus on high performance there, and a little bit of the client success. In the other company, I was hired to put systems in place, structures in place, all around sales, around team support, around the clients, around all of the daily things being done. And ultimately, they really wanted me to help find gaps where they were losing money and leaking money, and how could they maximize and monetize better from what they were already doing. Okay. So across these 3 companies, those are the types of things I was hired to do. Okay. Those are the things I was hired to do. But here's what I found. And the thing that the reason I'm excited to share this is, 1, you're going to learn a lot of great things today. But 2, these were very successful, high-performing companies. These were people making multiple millions of dollars and 8 figures in their coaching companies, and their businesses were crumbling. And so let me walk you through. Okay, here's the first thing I found inside all of these companies, like across the board, all of them, all 3 of them. Number 1, and I want you guys to write this down because you need to audit. You need to do what we call in my company a gap assessment. You need to audit where you are losing money, where money is leaking and pouring out of holes in your bucket. Okay, think of a bucket. And I want you to think of a bucket, and I want you to think of holes throughout the bucket in different areas, and water pouring out of those, aka the water is money. It's pouring out of those. And I want you to picture you standing over that leaky bucket, pouring with another bucket, pouring water in to the bucket, and the water, the money, is pouring out as quickly as you're filling it. That's what I want you to visualize. This is most people's businesses. Most people's businesses have multiple leaks where money is pouring out of it, and the business owner's standing over that bucket with another bucket full of water. And as quickly as she's pouring the water into that leaky bucket, it's pouring out of those holes. And I want you to think about the money, or the water, being time and money and energy, pouring right out. Eventually, what happens? You're going to get exhausted and you're going to be like, I'm done, right? Like, what I'm doing isn't working. And as quickly as I'm pouring it in, it's just pouring right out. That was these companies. And guys, this is most companies. This is literally most companies that are making a ton of money. They are leaking money, time, and energy like crazy, and it's going out as fast as they're pouring it in. That's a recipe for burnout. You will never sustain that, right? Okay, so now that you have this visualization of this leaky bucket, and you, the CEO, the business owner, standing over, pouring a bucket of water in that's going out as quick, and you just can't keep up. Okay, now that we have that visualization, I'm going to share 5 things that I found where their business was leaking. They were losing and leaking time, money, and energy faster than they could keep filling that bucket. And their business was going to crash. So number 1, and again, think of your business as I talk about these 5 things. And I want to identify, do you really have like a sales problem, or is it something else? You might have a sales problem, but let's talk it through so you can figure it out. So depending on your stage of business, these will make more sense and some of these won't. Number 1, what I found in these 3 companies, all 3 of them, is number 1, they had really poor systems and processes around client success and client retention. And they were putting way more time, money, and energy on lead acquisition. Does everyone understand the difference between those 2 things? Does everybody understand the difference in client success and retention versus client acquisition? So lead acquisition is acquiring new leads. We call it like lead generation, right? Most of you know it as lead generation. So in these companies, they're a hyper-focused, high-performing company, okay? So they're hyper-focused on growth. These are high-performing companies making multiple millions, 8 figures. They are high performers. And they are focused up here on hyper-growth. So most of their time, their money, their energy, and the systems they did have in place, like 99% of them were focused on acquiring new leads. And that was their hyper-growth strategy. That's how they grew. That's how they got where they were. They was just focused on hyper lead gen. So acquiring new leads constantly. How many of you here, thinking about your business, how many of you here have a hyper focus on acquiring a new lead all the time, like every day? And I'm not saying lead gen is bad. I teach my clients to generate 20 leads a day, every single day. But equally, if not more, time, money, and energy has to go on client success and client retention. Because let's go back and think about your leaky bucket. Let's go back and think about the leaky bucket. If you are standing over your leaky bucket and you're putting new leads in it every single day, and then you are signing clients and the clients are falling and leaking out of those holes, meaning that you're putting so much focus on getting new leads all the time and no focus on client success and client retention, guess what you're doing? You are replacing clients constantly. What if you took a little bit more of the energy that you're putting on getting new leads all the time and you poured a little bit of it over to making sure every single client that comes into your program has an exceptional experience, is set up for success, and they renew and ascend. They renew and ascend with you for 1 to 4 or 5 years. A client for life. What's the value of having one client sign up to work with you and then stay with you 1 to 5 years? Do you think that more of your time, money, and energy would be worth going toward that versus getting a new lead all the time? Absolutely. Give me a yes in the comments if you're like, this makes sense. So in this company, in these 3 companies, guys, multiple 7 and 8 figure companies, they were pouring tens of thousands of dollars every month on Facebook ads, which isn't, I'm not saying anything bad about that, but listen, they were pouring tens of thousands of dollars every month on paid advertising to bring in new leads and new clients. And on the client side of it, they weren't putting anything over there to make sure clients had an exceptional experience, an amazing journey with them, great results, client success, and client retention and ascension. So as quickly as clients came on, clients came off. So guess what they were doing? Instead of client retention and ascension, they had client replacing. So instead of having a client come in and pay you once and then, or come in once and stay with you and pay you over and over and over and over and over again, instead of that, they had clients come in and then clients fall out. Clients come in, clients fall out. So when I got in these businesses and I saw this, I'm like, no wonder you have so much urgency around getting massive leads every single month with advertising. No wonder you're willing to pour so much money into paid advertising, because you can't keep your clients. You're not retaining your clients. So you're paying for advertising to replace the clients that are constantly falling off, instead of putting more time and energy and money toward retaining and ascending those clients and having them pay you over and over and over and over again. This is a major gap. And I see companies that aren't even doing 7 figures that are doing this. So I want you to think about your business and where you're at. And I want you to think, do you operate that way every day in your business? Do you operate from the place of, I need more leads, I need more leads, my leads don't buy, my leads aren't qualified, I need more leads, my leads don't make enough money, they're not going to buy my thing, I need more leads, more leads, more leads? Do you operate from a place of urgency of, I need more leads, and do you find yourself replacing clients? When a client signs up to work with you, how long on average do they stay with you? How long on average do they renew into maybe the same program? Maybe they ascend into a different program, or they buy something else from you. But how long on average does your client stay with you over and over and pay you over and over and over again? Because in these companies making $1 million, multiple $1 million in 8 figures, clients were coming in and out just the same as quick. Out as quick as they came in. And no wonder they were like, pour money on ads. We need more leads. We need more clients. We need more sales. No wonder. You have 0 client retention. Most of your clients come in and go out as quick as they came in. No wonder you feel like you constantly need to be getting new leads, acquiring new leads. And here's what I want you guys to understand. It's far more expensive, time, money, energy-wise. It is 10 times more expensive to get and acquire a brand new lead than it is to retain or ascend one that's already paying you. Does that make sense? Give me a yes in the comments if that makes sense to you. Or just say makes sense. It's far more expensive on multiple levels for you to acquire a new lead all the time than it is, and replace a client, than it is to retain and ascend a client that's already paying you. It literally doesn't make sense to replace clients like that all the time. Okay? And now you wouldn't even think in a company that's making multiple millions or 8 figures would even have this problem. It's actually one of their biggest problems. They can't retain clients. They can't ascend clients. The value of a lifetime client is like not there for them. They don't have it. And so they're replacing clients so that then in return, they have this massive urgency to have to constantly run ads and run leads because they need to keep up with constant new leads coming in order to generate sales and replace clients who are falling off, right? This is a problem, guys. Now, could this be a sales problem? Totally. But it's not the kind of sales problem most of you come to me with. Most of you come to me with like, I need better quality clients. I need more strategies. I need to figure out how to get more clients. In all, you could literally probably double your revenue every year if you learn how to retain and ascend your clients that are already paying you. That one tweak alone, that one focus, that one shift in focus alone could probably double your revenue. Okay? So that was the first system, the first thing that I saw inside of all three of these companies operating at such a high level financially. This was the first problem they had. And they did not mention that to me when they hired me. They said, we need to generate more sales. We need more clients. No, you don't actually need more clients. What your problem is you're not retaining clients. You're not ascending because you don't have a system to set them up for success and give them an exceptional experience where they want to pay you over and over and over and over for years to come. So if you shift your focus off paid advertising, it's obviously still do ads. You still need to generate leads. But if we took half of that energy and that time and that money, and we put that over towards client success and client retention and ascension, and we built that in, you would have clients that would stay with you for 1 to 5 years. And then you don't need to be so hyper-focused on acquiring and replacing clients all the time. It's far more expensive. Does that make sense to everybody? Let me know in the comments if that makes sense. And I want you to think about your business. It doesn't matter how much money you're making or how much money you're not making. The fact of the matter is you could all double your revenue right now if you learn how to retain clients and you learn how to help them renew and ascend with you for 1 to 5 years from now. If you learn how to acquire a new client and then retain that client, you're going to double your revenue just by doing that. Most of you have clients come in and go out just as quick. So you're constantly replacing. You're not actually getting ahead, right? So it's your profit margins are distorted. They're blurred. They're not where they could be. So that is number one. I want you to identify, do you have that issue? Because here's what I'm going to tell you. Even though these are results that I found inside multiple 7- and 8-figure companies, you don't wait till you're operating at that level to put these things in place. That is not smart, right? It isn't smart to have these big fires and big leaks and big money breakdowns in your business and then be like, oh, now I should set that up. These 5 things I'm talking you through today are things that you right now should be putting in your business and setting up to work for you so that you don't have these problems. Okay, so these are not things that you're like, oh, okay, once I hit 6 figures or 7 figures, then I'll go ahead and put these systems in place. No, you should be doing this right now today and avoiding all of these problems. Okay, I'm going to say this. 3 years later, these companies are still recovering because they are performing at such a high level. And we had to go so deep into the weeds to fix these things that they had to scale back and slow down. And it's a massive recovery time. You would be smart if you got these things in order now so that you don't have this problem later. Okay? It's harder to fix these things when you're operating at 7 and 8 figures than it is to fix them while you're generating 5 or 6 figures in your business. So this is definitely something you need to be paying attention to. Okay. The second thing I found behind these 7 and 8 figure companies working with them, the second thing was very dated and very like overwhelming onboarding processes that were literally creating buyer's remorse, client spiraling, client codependency, refund requests. If you've ever had a client come into your program, I think we've all had this. If you've ever had a client come into your program and start spiraling really fast, like second guessing themselves, having a million questions, feeling really insecure, feeling like it was a codependent relationship where they were so dependent on you, they couldn't think for themselves, they couldn't move without your approval. They hogged the coaching sessions. They needed like your every single second attention. They weren't really taking action. They were stuck. They were slow progress. They were slow at moving. Maybe they said, I need to pause. I need to pause my program with you for a while. I need to pause my payments. I need to like rethink. I think I made a mistake. They wanted to retract from their contract, right? Like cancel it out like it wasn't a thing. They wanted a refund. Like if you experience these things, guys, I'm going to tell you that the number one reason, okay, and also number 4, I think also that I'm going to share with you in a minute here. Number 4 also creates this outcome. But when you have those experiences, those are symptoms of a bigger problem. Most people come to me and they're like, oh, clients want refunds. They're just not committed to their business. They're not serious. Like, these are not ideal clients. And it's like, wait a second, where's your responsibility in this? Like, who let them in the program? How did they get in your program if they're not the right people, if they're not committed, if they're not a fit, if they're not serious, if they're not ready to do the work? Why are they in your program? Who let them in your program? You did. This is a level of responsibility, right? Like, and when I got in these companies, they're like, I don't understand. We get like several requests for people who want a refund or they want to pause their account. We were getting in these companies, there was multiple emails and requests from clients daily, every day, saying, can I pause? Can I cancel my contract? Can I get a refund? Can I get my money back? I think I made a mistake. And then clients like spiraling. So they would send like voice memos and emails that were like 10 hours long about like their whole life and spiraling why they think they made a mistake and blah, 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 and they can't do it and they don't think they're cut out and they don't think all these things. And it's like that amount of time and money that gets lost that gets wasted when your team has to jump in and handle that. Who's handling those requests? If you work by yourself, it's you. So if you're sitting in your emails all day or on Voxer and audios trying to talk a client off the ledge and trying to get them to stop spiraling and get them back on board, if that's how you spend all day or even hours per week, if your time as a CEO is being spent on that, you're losing money because 1, that costs time and money to do that. Number 2, you could be generating sales. You could be selling. You could be going live. You could be having sales conversations. You could be closing new clients. You could be serving current clients. But instead, you're taking all your time, money, and energy and pouring it into people that shouldn't be in your program to begin with. If you have team and your team is handling this, you still have the whole problem I just said, plus you're paying team to handle it. So you're like getting a double whammy. You're losing so much time, money, and energy on things you could be preventing by having a proper qualification process in place that puts barriers, right? Like board of entry, meaning it's like Harvard. It's not just everyone getting through the doors. And so this was a huge problem that I saw in all 3 of these companies. I couldn't believe the amount of client refund requests, client remorse, buyer's remorse, clients spiraling and complaining all day, every day. There's so many clients who weren't showing up. They weren't using the program and they were whining and complaining they weren't getting results. And like they were looking for instant hits of gratification and results. And like they just didn't belong in that program. They didn't belong there. And when I went back and talked to the CEOs and I said, why are these people even in this program? And do you know what they said? They have the money to pay and they want to be here, so we want to help them. Let me be very, very clear right now, and I'm going to say this for the people in the back of the room. An application, just an application for your program, is not a qualification process. If you think because you have an application and that's all you need, an application is not a qualification process by itself. That's number 1. Number 2, just because someone has the money to pay you and they want to be in your program doesn't make them qualified. This is something that needs to be talked about. Because just because someone's willing to pay you and they want to be in your program doesn't mean they belong in your program. It doesn't mean they're going to get results. It doesn't mean they're going to win. It doesn't mean that they are mentally, emotionally, financially, and strategically willing and able to do what is required to get the results. And so when you're letting someone in your program and they don't meet certain attributes and they don't check the box of certain criteria that tells you it's a winner, then why are you letting them in your program? So something I help these clients put in place is a proper qualification process, first of all, which goes beyond just an application. And then you have to create client criteria, attributes, certain things that a client who's capable of getting results and winning in your program is that they have. And they need to check those boxes. Who's doing that? Who's checking those things? Who is qualifying and confirming that the person you're letting into your program is actually qualified to get results in your program? If you think about a successful athlete, not every single person in the world can be a successful athlete. Why? There are attributes. There's criteria and attributes that a successful athlete carries. It's in their DNA. It's in their DNA. It's in their makeup. Not everybody has that. That's why there's people that can be successful athletes and there's people that cannot be. It's because one person has the DNA, and the DNA is what's required to win, and the other person doesn't have that DNA. That's why only 1% of entrepreneurs are actually millionaires. 1%. That's not a big number. Because most entrepreneurs don't have the attributes to win. They don't have the DNA. They don't have what it takes. They're not willing to do what it takes to win. 1% of the whole world is willing to do it. So when you're looking at the people wanting to work with you and applying to work with you and coming into your programs, it goes so much deeper than an application. An application is like a little bit of data. It gives you a little bit of information to kind of base things off to decide, do we want to put them through the rest of the process, or are we going to disqualify them? Like right now. An application is like the barrier of entry. It's like the first point of contact. There needs to be things that happen after that, or you're going to get people in your program that don't belong there, that are going to suck the life and energy out of you, your coaches, your team, your other clients. They're going to hog the coaching time. They're going to not do the work. They're not going to show up, and they will be the first to bitch, whine, and complain that they're not getting results. They're not going to do the work. They're not going to have any results. They're not going to renew. They're going to be late on their payments, or they're not going to want to pay, or they won't pay. This is not because of your audience. This is your problem. This is an issue with you. You're not properly qualifying people. And what I call this in my company and what I teach my clients and what I help set up when I go in these companies is a thing called proper placement. If you have multiple programs, place people properly based on where they're at. And in order to do that, it's a lot more than just how much money do you make. It's a lot more and a lot deeper than just finding out how much money they make. How much money they make doesn't mean nothing. I've had people come work with me who are making $500,000 and they're the biggest pain in the asses to work with, right? They don't even, they're not even ideal. I have clients who come in who aren't making very much money, and they're the best clients I've ever worked with. The money is not the only factor. That's just one tiny little thing. The amount of money people make in order to join your program, it basically just lets you know if they can sign up right now. But it doesn't tell you if they're going to be successful. It doesn't tell you if they're going to be good clients to work with. It doesn't tell you if they're going to win in your program. And if a client's not winning, guys, you're getting refund requests, or you're replacing clients, or you and your team have to put so much time, money, and energy to support them because you're chasing them around and holding their hand, and they're codependent. That costs time, money, and energy. Someone on your team has to handle all that. Someone on your team has to do all that, right? Someone needs to manage all that. So that is time, money, and energy being taken away from the clients that are winning and the clients that are doing the work and from generating new sales. It does not logically make sense to operate your business like this. It doesn't make sense. Okay. So these 3 companies all had an application, every one of them. They had an application. That's all they had for qualification process. There was no criteria. There were no attributes. There was no next step, third step, first step. There was nothing. It was literally fill out the application. And if you make an X amount of money and you're ready to start, you qualify. We'll let you in. And they let anybody in willing to do that. And the side effect of that, lack of proper qualification, resulted in buyer's remorse, client refund requests, MIA, all the things we just talked about. Those are symptoms of a bigger problem. If you put a proper qualification process in place, you don't even have to deal with that stuff 95% of the time, even 98% of the time, which will then increase your profit margins, decrease your effort in getting and retaining clients, right? And it's gonna amplify your scale, your sustainability. So that was the second system that we found, and I was actually really shocked about that. I'm like, wow, you're doing multiple 7 and even 8 figures and all you have in place is an application. How have you been keeping up? How are you keeping up with replacing clients like this all the time? And the fact of the matter is, they weren't. They were burning out and they were almost in debt. So this is a big deal. Okay, so that was the second thing that we found. Just really dated and overwhelming onboarding process, in qualification process. It was just like they just didn't have it. The third thing that we found was they didn't have it like an onboarding process. So when we talk about client success and we talk about client experience, I'm going to tell you to write those 2 things down because they're the only things that matter in your business. I don't care if your clients get results with you. If the experience sucks, they're not doing business with you again. They're certainly not telling their friends about you, period. They're not buying from you again, and they're definitely not telling their friends to come to you. And that is a huge way to lose a lot of money. And so not having an onboarding process for your clients that helps them be set up for success is the most irresponsible thing a business owner can do. It is so irresponsible as a business owner to not make sure you have a process set up for clients to come in and have an exceptional experience and get results. They need to be successful. And I've done a podcast on this. I was interviewed on the Market Like a Boss podcast about this, and I talked about this. There's a difference in progress and results. Clients are not getting results the minute they come in and work with you, but they do need to see progress immediately. Day one, upon paying you, they need to see progress. And every day after that, they need to see progress that is leading them to the results that they want. Progress and results are not the same thing. And this is where you guys lose sales because you think it's the same thing. You think every client just wants results. Okay, guys, you can't have a baby in under 9 months. Rome was not built in a day, and you're not getting abs by doing 1 sit-up. Results take time. Progress needs to happen immediately and consistently. And so the way that you set up your onboarding process determines if a client is going to renew with you, if they're going to stay with you, if they're going to show up and do the work, if they're going to keep paying you, if they're going to tell their friends about you, if they're going to buy other things that you're selling. The experience that a client has immediately after paying you determines that. And I'm going to tell you that in the research I've done in the past 8 years, within 48 hours to 30 days, write this down, within 48 hours to 30 days, your client has already decided if they're going to continue with you. Within the first 48 hours, buyer's remorse is a real thing where people are like, ugh, kind of meh, I regret doing this. I think it was a mistake, whatever. And you might have clients that are paying you, but not showing up and actually using your program. And that's because their experience wasn't that great, or they shouldn't have been in your program. They weren't qualified, and you skipped those things. So now you have clients that are already saying after 48 hours to 30 days, I'm not using the program. I don't think I'm going to get what I need here. I think I made a mistake. I'm not renewing. I'm not buying anything else from them. Certainly not telling my friends about them. Now you've lost sales. Even if they continue to pay you, which they should because that's our responsibility, even if they continue paying you, they're not using your program, which means they're not getting results. They're not getting the value. So there's not going to be a testimonial. There's not going to be a renewal. They're not going to buy anything else from you, and they're not telling their friends about you. What's the fucking point? At that point, what is the point of any of it? Right? So you got to understand, like, the onboarding process, guys, is the first impression. It's the first experience people have with you. And it will be the deciding factor if they continue or not with you. And I will tell you, I've invested in year-long mastermind programs where in the first 48 hours, in fact, I just did a podcast. I invested in an 8-figure coach, recently, 4 weeks ago. I invested in an 8-figure coach, and I recorded a podcast on my experience. And I told you, within the first week of making that investment, I already decided I was out. Never again. I want to tell you, this is not my first rodeo. That's happened multiple times where I've made an investment and the experience after I paid was lousy. And these are very, very successful companies. I only invested in 7- and 8-figure companies, so it blew my mind. But here's the thing. I still make my payments because I'm a very responsible business owner. I don't say yes and sign contracts and then try to back out. I'm not that person. So I'm still paying, but I'm not using it. And in my head, I will never renew. I'll never buy anything else from you. And I'm not going to tell my friends about you. And when I'm ready and I'm done paying for this, I'll go somewhere else. I'll keep paying you, but you're never going to see me use anything. That is what happens when you have a really shitty onboarding process. And you think your onboarding process is give them everything they asked for, throw them in the group, get them on the calls, and give them a bunch of bonuses, and give them a bunch of stuff, and get them in the membership, and go, 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 go. Here's all your stuff. That's not an onboarding process. That is not an onboarding process. And that is an overwhelming process that's going to create all these symptoms that we're talking about today very quickly in your company. Okay? You'll have a hard time growing to 7 figures if you don't change these things. So in those 3 companies, that was the third system that just did not exist. It was so poorly put together. Okay, the next thing, the fourth thing was they had I wouldn't say no, but they had really poor team structure, training, poor support for the team. They didn't have good success markers for the team. And the symptom was extreme churn and burn. They struggled to hire and retain team. So if you're someone that hires, if you're at a place in your business where you're hiring team members, whatever, it doesn't matter what kind, sellers, admin, lead generators, tech people, success coaches, whatever, it doesn't even matter. If you're at a place in your business where you're hiring team and you notice churn and burn, team members are not doing a good job, their performance is low, they're not doing what you expected, they're not doing the job, you're going behind them, you're firing them or letting them go because they're not doing those things, or they're quitting or going MIA, and you're like, what happened? And I gotta hire more team and replace. Kind of the same thing happening with clients. It's just churn and burn. And so when I got in these 7- and 8-figure companies, there wasn't proper training, proper onboarding, there wasn't proper success markers and support for the team. And so here's what I'm going to tell you flat out. Take this to the bank. You can literally take this and cash it as a check at your bank. Team does not leave companies. Team leaves leaders. When you have a team member that leaves and quits on you, They're not leaving the company. They're leaving you. You're being a poor leader in their eyes. They don't see you as a good leader. They don't see they have good opportunity to be with you for a long time, and they can't see themselves being successful because of poor leadership. Do you know what the people do when they leave you? They go to the next company just like you with a better leader. Team is not leaving the companies. They're leaving the leaders because it's poor leadership. Nobody is going to deal with chaotic, unorganized, lack of systems, lack of support, lack of structure, zero incentive, no opportunity, poor leadership. They will leave you in a second, and they will go work for your competitor because your competitor has better leadership. If you're someone hiring team or you're thinking about hiring team, you got to make sure you have your systems and processes in place and dialed in, because you will have churn and burn with team. They will never stay with you, and you'll never grow. You can't grow by yourself. You're not getting to $1 million by yourself. You're going to need team. And if you're constantly hiring, vetting, replacing, and going behind your team, it's not only costing you money, it's costing you time. You are delaying your growth and your scale because you have poor leadership skills, lack of organization, a lack of support, a lack of proper training. You're just throwing people into your fires and you're like, go. Like, I hope you can do it. And that's not good leadership. And so when I interviewed their team that was quitting, when I talked to those people in these companies, that's exactly what they said. I love what they do. I love the work they do. I wanted to go all in. I want to be here for a long time. In fact, I'm going to go find a company to do the exact same thing with because I love this work. But the organization is terrible. The leadership doesn't exist. The structure, there's no structure. I don't feel properly trained. I don't feel set up for success. I don't feel supported. I don't know what opportunity I have here. It's stressful. It's overwhelming. It doesn't feel good every day. That was the feedback that we got from team. And expectations were unrealistic. That was a big one. Team was saying to me when I privately interviewed them to get feedback, which, by the way, you should be doing in your company. The feedback was one of the big ones was the goals that they've set for me and the things they want me to accomplish in the time they've given me is so unrealistic. No one can do that, especially with all the lack of organization and the lack of support and training. I feel like I'm set up to fail right from day one. If you're not listening to this, you're not getting it. This is a problem. And so those team members left. And guess what they did? They just went and worked with other companies that have better leadership. You're never going to grow your business by yourself. You can get to 6 or maybe multiple 6 by yourself and hustle, grind, getting in the weeds. But if you ever want to have a multiple $1 million business, if you ever want to have you want to create generational wealth and a legacy with your company, you want an empire, you're not doing that by yourself. And you're not going to have a team that's going to help you do it if you have poor leadership skills. Okay. So again, this is something you need to invest in. This is something you need to set up. This is something you need to put more time and energy to. But these companies weren't putting energy to that. They were pouring all their money into Facebook ads for lead gen and acquiring new leads. And they don't have the team on the other side to support it. So there was a disconnect with the growth. You don't have the systems or the people to help you with the type of growth you're trying to get to, which is why it's not happening. And so we had to go back in and we had to set up proper onboarding and proper training and proper metrics and success markers. And we had to make sure we were putting the right people in the right places so that their team felt set up to succeed. Does this make sense? Are you guys getting this? Does this make sense to you? If you operate a business, at some point, you probably want to hire. You probably want to bring someone in that can help take things off your plate and help you create your dreams, help you reach your goals. You're not going to do that if you don't set these things up properly, okay? It ain't going to happen. Okay, and then the final system, the fifth thing, was very, very low profit margins. this is the surprising thing. These were multiple 7 and 8 figure companies that were paying out more money than they were making. I literally, ever since working with these huge companies, I am not impressed anymore by someone telling me they're making $1 million. I used to be so impressed by that, like, good for you, wow. And now I'm like, bullshit. Your company might be generating $1 million, but you are not profiting. When I went in these companies, their companies were generating multiple 7 and 8 figures. As business owners, they were broke, and they were spending more money than they were making. They were about to go like in debt and bankrupt. Their businesses were not doing well. They had team quitting left and right. They had clients falling off left and right and wanting to basically wanting their money back. So refunds, right? They had team quitting all over the place, and they were pouring all this money into advertising, and they weren't actually making very much money. Their profit margins were deathly low, like unheard of low. I couldn't believe that. Like, I was coming into these companies thinking, oh, wow, you're making multiple 7, 8 figures. You're doing well. And when I came in, I'm like, oh boy, you're like spending 10 times more than you're making. Like, this isn't good. And a lot of it was because of these 5 things, but the other 4 things I've talked about today was costing them so much money. It cost them so much money, and 90% of it was preventable. As soon as we started setting up the systems, as soon as we started putting these things in place, their profit margins started going up rapidly fast. And their effort started to decrease, and the amount of wasted time and money across the whole company just started to go down, and they started to retain, right? So I want you to understand that these are very important systems that you want to put in place now, before you get to a place where you get to a point in your business where you're about to go bankrupt because you didn't put these things in place, right? There's so many in my audience now. There's so many people that are going to listen to this, and you and I have had a conversation. We've talked, and you're at a place in your business either where you're already experiencing this and you know who you are. You're on the cusp. You're right on the edge of experiencing this. So you're toggling right between it. You're probably experiencing some of it. And some of you are at the point where you're newer in your business and you're already experiencing some of these things. And what I'm going to tell you is those things don't just go away. Those things don't just go away by generating more sales or getting more leads. Those things don't just dissipate all by themselves. These are things that you, as the business owner, created. And if you want them to go away, then you need to create a way to have them dissipate. You need to set up certain things to make them go away. They're not just going to go away by generating more sales. Your problems are not just going to disappear because you generate more leads, or you grow your group, or you add more people to your email list, or you get more sales, or you hire more team. Like, those are not solutions to these types of problems. The problems, these are symptoms. All the things I talked about today are symptoms of bigger problems. You're going to need to go down into the weeds of your business and fix the actual problem so the symptom goes away. And otherwise, all you're really doing is creating more and more and more problems, because you're trying to hide the symptoms and avoid fixing the symptoms, or because you just don't have the education. You don't understand that the problems that you're having are actually symptoms of a bigger problem. And until you get to the problem, those symptoms are not going to go away. Those symptoms are going to get bigger as your business grows. They're not just going to disappear all of a sudden. And the answer to these things are not just generate more leads and more sales, right? I hope this has been helpful. If you're listening to this, and let's say you're generating, 6, multiple 6 or 7 figures maybe in your business, and any of these things are things that you're like, I'm experiencing that, I'm dealing with that right now, or I feel that coming, I'm starting to see it. Maybe you are in the weeds. Maybe you're all the way down in and you're like, oh my God, I've dug a hole. I'm trying to get out of these things. I'm experiencing this stuff. I don't know how to get out of it. I'm kind of avoiding it. I'm like I kind of have my head in the sand a little bit. I'm trying to really avoid it because it's so much. I don't know how to handle it. I don't know how to fix it. I don't know how to get out of this situation I've created. If you are that person, I am highly going to recommend that you send me a private message and we see if I could help you. I don't know if I can. I need to look at what you got going on, but I'm going to tell you that those things are not going to go away just because your head is in the sand. Those things are not going to go away just by getting more leads or getting more clients. These are things that need to be fixed at a root level. They need to be fixed with systems, strategy, and proper people. And if you don't have those things in place and you don't know how to do this, the symptoms aren't going to go away. The problems are going to get bigger and those symptoms are going to increase and multiply. So if this is you and you want to solve the problems and you want to fix the leaks in the bucket so that the bucket can overflow with awesome clients and money and success and all the things, then I'm going to encourage you to privately message me. I've actually opened 2 spots. And basically, here's what this looks like. If you're at the place where I can help you, then we're going to spend probably a minimum of 6 months together, okay? Because I have to go in and fix all of the things you've created. And that takes time, just like it took time to create the problems. It's going to take time to fix them. But basically what I do with my clients who are at the right level, they're experiencing these things, I believe I can come in and help you. What we do is we do an audit. So you and I will have a conversation. You're going to give me a bunch of information. You're going to give me access to everything. I'm going to do an audit. I'm going to do an audit that's going to take a few weeks. It could take 2 to 4 weeks, depending on how deep your problems are. I'm going to do an audit, and I'm going to look at everything I just talked about today and some. I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to talk to your team lead. I'm going to talk to your sellers or anybody on your team. I'm going to look at all client surveys. If you don't have them, we're going to do some surveying, and we're going to get feedback from clients. I'm going to look at every square inch of your business, any system or process you have in place or don't. Basically, I'm going to do a complete audit of your business. And that will take about 2 to 4 weeks to complete. And then I'm going to come back with my findings and my suggestions. And then I'm going to prioritize them. I'm going to say, here's all your breakdowns. Here's all your money leaks. These are the gaps. And then I'm going to say, but here's where we need to start. We're going to start closest to the money, the problems that need to be fixed first. And we're going to work our way down. I'm going to tell you what needs to be fixed, how it's going to need to be fixed, and what and who you might need to get that done. And then I'm going to work with you. I'm going to work with your team kind of as a silent behind the scene person. I'm going to guide you guys. I'm going to direct you. I'm going to work very closely with you guys over about 6 months. I say it's a minimum of 6 months to get all these things going. And then I want to test them and I want to revisit. And I want to look at the data and see if profit margins are going up, if client retention is increasing, client success, team support, team happiness, all the things. Like I need to see that things that we're putting in place are working. And then we'll look at, okay, what else do we need to work on? What else do we need to fix? How do we keep this going, this momentum? So it's a minimum of about 6 months that we'll spend doing all of that. But during that time, you're getting systems in place, you're getting processes in place, and you're fixing these leaks. You're literally patching the leaks, and you're seeing your profit margins go up. You're seeing client retention, client ascension, client success. You're seeing team happiness. All the things are just rising, and all those problems are dissipating. Okay. Sometimes it takes longer than 6 months. It depends on your level of business and how long this has been going on and how deeply rooted are the problems. But it's a minimum of 6 months. We'll work together. I'll work with you. I'll work closely with your team, whoever's managing and handling things. If you need team, I'm going to guide you on who and what they need to do and what their focus should be. Like I'm going to be that person. Okay. We'll help you get to where you're trying to go. And then this is a 5-figure a month investment. So obviously this is not for you if you have a brand new business. I can't come in and fix something that doesn't exist, right? So we're coming in to take what you're already doing and we're amplifying it, monetizing it, maximizing it, streamlining it, systematizing it, scaling it. And so in order to do that, you obviously need things in place. You need a program that has clients in it. You need systems in place. You're probably doing advertising or you're lead generating. You probably have a team member, maybe two. You're actively marketing and selling and doing all the things. You're getting applications or people reaching out about your programs. You have clients that are falling off or retaining. Like, you have things actively going on in your business. Okay. Otherwise, there's nothing for me to assess, right? So this is for you if you're that person. If that is you, and you want to fix this and learn how to pour rocket fuel under what you're doing, fix the problems, your profit margins will go up. You'll make more money. You could double, triple your income without adding anything new, just by fixing the leaks that you have in what you're already doing. Like, that alone could double your revenue. So definitely, this is my jam. This is what we're doing. If this is speaking to you, send me a private message. Let me know you watch this video. I'll ask you some questions about your business. If I think that you are where we would want you to be or where we could help you, we'll have you fill out an application. That does not mean we're going to work together. It just gives me data. Okay. It'll give me a little bit of data so that I know how to come back and ask additional questions and really truly make sure that not only can we help you, but are you ready to do this? Because this is unraveling a mess that you've probably created that you've been avoiding. And so it's not going to be fun. It's not going to be easy. It isn't going to happen overnight. It is going to require scaling back and slowing down a little bit on certain things to speed it back up and fix it. You have to be ready to do that. You have to be super coachable. You got to have the patience, and you got to be willing to face the things that you've created, the messes and stuff that you've created. You got to be willing to face those. And your head's going to have to come out of the sand. So this isn't for everybody. There's many people that have these problems, but you're just not ready to fix them. And so application is just the beginning of like us being able to identify if not only can we help you, but are you really ready to do this? From the application, if you do qualify and we are like, absolutely, we can help you. From that point, we'll reach out to you and we'll show you how to get enrolled. You'll sign a contract, you'll secure your spot, and then we get down to work. We get right down to business from that point on, okay? If we can't help you, we'll let you know why, and we'll let you know our thoughts and what we think and what we recommend, and, you can go from there. So I hope this is helpful to you guys at any stage of business. I want you to be thinking about these things. Do a gap assessment. Ultimately, at the end of the day, where you're not doing a good job, where you're dragging your feet. It's going to be really up to you as a business owner. Like, nothing can change if nothing changes, right? It could be that you have a sales problem, but ultimately, if you're actively marketing, selling, and signing clients, it's probably not a sales problem, right? It's probably these other things that would increase your sales naturally if you had them in place. So be honest with yourself, do a full assessment, and really look at what do you need next? What do you really need to move the needle forward, and what would that look like? And of course, if I can help you, let us know. Reach out to me privately. We have 2 spots for this, by the way, because it is so in-depth. It takes a lot of my time. It's not my team doing this. It's me doing it with you. So it is a lot of my time. And we're spending a minimum of 6 months together. And my hands are in the weeds with you and your team every day. So because of that, we're only taking on two people for the next 6 months or so. Okay. So limited spots here with this. This isn't open-ended offer or anything like that. They'll go fast. So if it's you, reach out to me privately. Let's have a chat. Let's see if we can help you. If it's not you, take a look at these things in your business. Prevent all of these things we talked about today from happening to begin with, like by putting these things in place. Okay. If you are generating a low 6, or maybe you're under that, you could definitely apply for the Profitable Entrepreneur. That's a 6-month program. It's renewable, so you can spend 12 months with us as well. And we get your sales going. We get your systems in place. It's a coaching and sales program that might be more suitable for you if you're not operating quite at the level where you have team and you have lots of clients. If you only have a few clients, but you want to get these things in place and you also want to increase your sales at the same time, but you're a little bit newer, then the Profitable Entrepreneur could be a program for you as a starting point, and then you can ascend later into one of these programs with us. If that is you, then just send me a private message let me know you'd like the profitable entrepreneur application. Okay. And we can send and see if that is the next best step for you. All right, guys. I hope this was super helpful. And I hope to see you next Wednesday on our weekly